So, you've decided to take the plunge and begin using a metronome. Excellent idea. However, along the way you've discovered that it's not going quite as smoothly as you had hoped. Well, chances are there's one of three things that are holding you back. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of those three and see if we can solve this problem for you once and for all. Let's check it out. Metronome make or break factor number one is listening versus hearing. Now this is a major one that most players fall into whether they realize it or not. It's very much the same thing as watching your favorite movie or television show and your mom or a significant other enters the room and asks you a question. And of course you don't really hear them because you are fully engaged in the program that you're watching. You hear them, but you're not listening to them. The same can be said for players who are getting used to playing with a metronome for the first little while. They hear it, they've put it on, it's making sound, they acknowledge that sound, then they go to play, and within seconds they realize there's no connection, there's no continuity between the metronome and what they're trying to play. So the difference is simply in your head, it really is. The difference between hearing and listening is really all up there. So for me, the biggest change happened when I stopped listening to me. I stopped listening to what I was playing. I stopped being fully engaged in the physical action of what I was doing, which caused me to only hear the metronome. Instead, I just switched my inner ear, I guess you could say, and made it so that I was listening to the metronome very intently, but I could hear me. That made all the difference in the world for being able to keep up and play along with a metronome accurately. See if that's the case for you, because chances are, if you get lost within a few seconds, that's probably exactly what's happening. Metronome make or break factor number two is probably the biggest one. How well do you actually know your rhythmic subdivisions? Everything that you play, whether it's part of a song or an exercise, is going to involve some sort of rhythm. It might be a consistent rhythm like all 16th notes, or if it's a song, chances are it's going to be a combination of various different rhythmic subdivisions like quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes. If you don't understand each one of those separately in and of themselves in a very solid way, you're most likely not going to connect to a metronome instantaneously, which really is the goal. So what I would say to really work on here is really make sure that you know and understand in your mind's ear what a quarter note is, what eighth notes are, what eighth note triplets, 16s, and of course there are many others below and above those ones. You have to know those so well in your mind's ear that you can instantly jump into any one of them at any given tempo that you're practicing at. Now, to accomplish this, you can enlist the help of various things. There are plenty of products out there, including online rhythmic training apps, one of which I will link below. And of course, you can always enlist a great teacher to help you with this, which is probably the best one. So if you don't know your rhythmic values well enough, in and of themselves in your head, you're not going to recognize them when you need them the most. So take care of that, absolutely. Now the third make or break factor for this is one that I wrestled with a little bit, as it's very related to the last two things, but I will bring it up because it is super important. That is awareness. Being aware of whether you are playing in time or not. There are so many players who I've seen, who I'm convinced after having watched them play to a metronome, they're not aware of when they're in or out. They just have the metronome on, they're hoping that it just radiates enough awesomeness to make them better. And they have no idea that they're so far away from the click that it's just lost. So being aware of whether you are listening or hearing, being aware of whether or not you're nailing those rhythmic values, that is by far the biggest factor. So it's very similar to having a spot on your shirt and you are not aware of it until someone points it out to you. Now you can't not be aware of it. You're going to be super aware of it for the rest of the day. Think of it like that, just hopefully less embarrassing. So those are the three factors. I would definitely recommend looking into all of them and assess for yourself whether any of those three pertain to you and your playing. If you struggle with metronome work, chances are one of the three do. So if you have any questions, by all means hit me up, and don't forget to check out some of these other videos. Take care.